Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering Arena Brawl video, where we're dealing with our first post-Crimson Vow deck, and we're going to start off with Bloodsoaked Dolls featuring Odric. Now, before we begin, Odric is pretty bad as far as legends go. It's very much got the potential to enter the board as a vanilla 3/3. And all it's able to do is produce a number of blood tokens based on the number of keywords that are amongst the things we've got. So it's got Flying, First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, or Vigilance. We'll get a blood counter for it. And blood can be used to discard a card and sacrifice it to draw a card. So we essentially get to loot cards. Now, this is a slight issue at present, because Odric being red-white means that we don't get access to black, which has some of the good payoff red blood cards. And yeah, that means that we've got very little to actually capitalize on the blood itself, and so we've got to try and find a way to capitalize off of the discarding of it and having the creature types to make it work. So I will preface this with, this deck is probably not going to be good. And this deck can probably be made significantly better by running a different commander, and I'll get into that in a bit. But essentially, the game plan is focused more or less around Dollhouse of Horrors, where we can pay 1, tap it, and exile a creature from our graveyard to make a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 0/0 construct artifact in addition to its other types, and it gets +1/+1 for each construct you control, and each of those then gets haste. So, since we've already got a number of things with keywords that are generally quite weak because we want them to enter in early and essentially get triggers from Odric to give us blood tokens, not really that big of a deal on their own. And then we can use those blood tokens to dig through our deck, discarding stuff, getting some things with flashback that we can then replay effectively, just as a means of getting that additional value in. And then hopefully being able to find the Dollhouse of Horrors, play it, and then exile the cards that we've discarded to make tokens, and have those tokens essentially take over the game from there. For that reason, Stormkill Artist is in here as well as a good option, since it gets +1/+1 for each artifact we control, which will include itself once it's exiled with Dollhouse of Horrors. And whilst it can make some treasures of itself, it probably won't do that many. Just on the basis that we've got a few instances of sorcery, think about 10, but not enough to really make it a mainstay. Yeah, we're going to be making loads of treasures off of this sort of card. We also then have payoff cards with Rust Monster, who's able to sacrifice our blood tokens for +2/+0, which with the first strike we can capitalize on. And similarly, the Blood Hypnotist, which once per turn lets us stop something from blocking when we sacrifice a blood token. So we can deny something blocking that's a bit of a threat and actually swing in for some good damage. So with that in mind, we've got a few little things in here going on. We've got Cleric class. We've not got much in terms of lifelink outside of a few lifelinkers, but it's mainly for the level 3 ability to return a creature from the graveyard to battlefield, since we're going to be discarding cards. We have our Quintorius to give spirits +1/+0, as we have a few spirits in here since we've got Catilda as a flying lifelinker and some decent removal and protection that just happen to be spirits. The Venerable Warsinger similarly can return creatures from graveyard if it's dealing damage, whilst also having Vigilance Trample. So just a bit of value that we can get in there. And it's mainly for that reason why I think that the better version of this deck to make is using another red-white commander, which I don't have and haven't crafted. Where are they? Yeah, Hoffrey Ghostforge, since it gives spirits +1/+1, trample and haste. So it gives a better buff than if we had Quintorius, and it's then able to make it so that whenever one of our creatures dies, we exile it, it gets a spirit version of it, which then can return the other one to graveyard once it dies. So we get essentially 2 uses out of them, and then when the spirit dies, then it goes to graveyard and we can start using it with the Dollhouse of Horrors. And then we don't have to worry about the blood token aspect of Odric and having all of these keywords available to us to feed that, essentially. And we're able to just straightforward spirits, good stuff that, you know, we get the double value of and get extra value of with the Dollhouse later down the line. However, I pulled an Odric and I went, screw it, we're gonna run Odric. I've not invested that much in terms of wildcards into this. It was mostly uncommons. I think the only rare I burnt was Venerable Warsinger. So everything else was stuff that I already had or pulled previously. Let's hope it does alright. I'm not too confident, but you never know. Sometimes it will just be able to do a better job than I estimate, and sometimes we just get a little bit lucky. But that being said, let's get into the games. So we're starting off against a Vadrik. I think this is alright. We don't actually have any creatures in our opening hand. That is impressive. With that in mind, actually I think we do mulligan it. Okay, this is fine. We've actually got a creature here. So that's 2 keywords we can get down. Unfortunately we're not going first, and that's a Delver of Secrets. Well, they're not going to be blocking this, so we'll swing in with that. They actually are blocking that. Okay. That surprises me. Why? Yeah, why would you block? Okay, I have no idea what's going on anymore. We shall drop ourselves an Orator. Blood Hypnotist unfortunately doesn't have any keywords of its own, so Odric currently comes down and gives us 1 blood token. They failed to find. Okay. Do I play this? Or, I mean, I've only got the 1 white, so I can only Spectral Steel at the moment, so sure. We attack with the Orator. We play Odric and get our single blood token. And now we've got a little bit of a board. Nothing major. We've got a little bit of enchantment stuff we can do. They've made it day. Alright. I guess I can attack with both and then Sejiri's Shelter. And that gets rid of it. That will then stop it from changing. They can't pay to bring it back. It returns tapped. So, alternatively, I enchant the Orator. No, because then it's too small. I could play this. In fact, yeah. Here's what we do. We'll play that. We'll drop the Hypnotist. And I'll sacrifice this. Discarding this, since this, whilst it's good, we can get some better value from it later. Alright, attack in with both of them. Vadrik has come down. They have 2 mana open and they foretell a card, so they're currently tapped out. Ooh, Goldspan Dragon, you say? Attacks or becomes the target of a spell. So I can... This is going to work out well. Because now I can just attack with all. Gives the Orator flying. And I now have the mana to Sejiri's Shelter. The Goldspan Dragon. Which targets the Goldspan Dragon. It's red, yep. Yeah, okay. So, Goldsbound Dragon is a very good card, and can make even mediocre decks pretty good. That's specifically sacrificing blood. Alright, and that is a blocker. So, I think we do still just swing in with everything. So let's see here, the Orator can get blocked by Hacker safely, but then that means they've lost everything else and they still have the gold span. And they are dangerously low on life at that point. So, I'll do it. If you control a creature with it. So yeah, giving it the first strike wouldn't have done anything. Yeah, and they are critically low on life. In fact, if I play this, I can level it up. And then next turn, even if they board wipe, I can return the Javelineer, get some damage in. They got an Epiphany, but they've not got the mana to do it. Good game. So yeah, moral of the story, Goldspan Dragon is a good card. I think that's literally what can be said there. And also, them blocking with the Delver was just the weirdest of plays, since not only did it die before rather than trading and then have to use removal on it, they then don't get to flip their Delver and get a 3-2. So, yeah, curious decision. Alright, opening up with a Dorothea. Dorothea is pretty good at being able to be a big threatening body that can dissuade us from attacking for a bit. I think I'm going to mulligan this again. That's not exactly the most satisfying of hands. This is an interesting one. I think I'll keep it. And I will be playing the Kabira Takedown as a land. Right off the bat. So they now presumably drop Dorothea. I'm not killing Dorothea, so we might as well use this. I think I then, next turn, play the Welcoming Vampire, as that can start drawing me some cards. Alright, how much is it to disturb it? It is 3. If they discard a spirit here, that's too big for me to burn, so I guess that is the one downside to having played this rather than the mountain. Yeah, because that's now too big for Sacred Fire alone. Maul of the Skyclaves does still give first strike, so I'm able to block and trade well in a future turn. But yeah, I take the 4, and then next time I'll be taking a bit more than 4. Okay, let's get ourselves a red source. Since I presume they want to disturb it, and they can safely attack in with Shipwreck Sifters at present. And I can't block the 4/4, but can stop the Sifters. Alright, they're doing a bit more setup. So whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you gain life. Pretty decent. Alright, and now they can tap things down with the Graphkeeper, so I'm probably going to want to kill the Graphkeeper. Alright, so I have at my disposal 4 mana. I can use 2 on this, playing this, it doesn't get to equip. If I drop this, that then can tap down one of them, but not both. And then that draws me a card, so I think, yeah, we'll start with Rem Perilous to get that card draw. Then we won't attack, because now they have to play 2 cards from graveyard in order to tap both of them down. Because I presume they, stick that on there, and then they can tap one of these down, but not both. And this way I can just block like so. I take the 4, but am currently in the clear. So, currently flying and haste. I think that only gets 2 because I think it only counts each word once. That gives first strike, but will then get tapped down pretty securely. So, how do I go about this? Wait a second, I deal 1 more burn damage now because of Rem. So I just do that. Problem solved. And that is a 1/1, so it draws me a card. That's a good card to draw. So, I'll attack in with both now because I'll probably replay Dorothea. Yep, that's Dorothea. Because I can then drop the Arsonist. Who I can swing in with. Okay, now here's the interesting question, because this dies when it attacks or blocks. So, it's good as haste. I got flying in abundance, so if I also swing with Rem, they can safely kill it, but so we deal 1 damage there, 1 damage there, submit 0. But I reckon they double block the Arsonist. They decide against it. Alright, I'm fine with this. So they can get both of their flyers out here. Whenever it attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. Okay, that's pretty decent. They swing in with Dorothea. I will just take it. I mean, Distracting Geist is dead to the Volatile Arsonist, so that's a non-issue. Okay, I think I play Odric here. Okay, that's 4 blood tokens, which I think is Menace Haste, Lifelink Flying. Yep, so it is just once for each keyword. I have now had that confirmed. And I could Maul of the Skyclaves. In fact, I will Maul of the Skyclaves on Catilda. And we'll go a swinging. Dealing 1 damage there, 1 damage there. Okay, so far so good. We've actually been able to get some damage in. We've done a decent job of controlling the board and getting stuff through. Hopefully, in one of these games, we'll actually get to either have the Rust Monster with blood tokens to use, or alternatively the what's the card? Dollhouse of Horrors, which this deck's built around. But okay, it's holding its own. It's doing okay. So hopefully it will keep going this way. Alright, Jadar the Ghoulcaller. So Javelin is great against a Jadar. We've got a very top-end heavy hand here, but I think that's fine. I mean, I'm going first, so we're able to drop the Javelin in air, get a swing in. We'll be able to get another couple of swings in. Odric may come down vanilla. Oh, that's a blocker. I'm gonna see if I can bait this out. Curses. They didn't fall for it. Maybe I should have put on full control just to give more of an impression of that. Alright, so assuming that they transform this next turn, they may choose a non-land card from it, I discard that card and then draw a card. So I am going to lose one of these things. That's pretty much a given. However, there's not much I can do about that, and that's fine because it is discarded. However, if we're able to get to our Dollhouse, that's a Death Toucher. Exploit, target player draws 2 cards, loses 2 life. That's a pretty fair option there, and yeah, that does work really well with Jadar, so nice. Okay, well, we can Catilda, and then we still have our blood token. No attacks. Is this just attacking? Yeah, just so it's not going to be able to trade with the Fell Stinger if it attacks. I can trade with Odric, since Odric is vanilla past this stage. That's not good. That's constantly going to deal damage to me, even if I am able to repeatedly block the zombie. Alright, so I think I do block and trade with the Fell Stinger, since that is going to be a continual problem later on down the line, and replaying Odric gets me more blood. So, alright, that's fine. Both of those resolve. And I'll activate this blood. And I think I discard the Inferno of the Mounts. Perfect, that is a land. And that means I can play this Arsonist. I can swing in like so, I believe. Yeah, and then get 1 damage there, 1 damage there, no Planeswalkers to hit. Holding back the Javelineer as a blocker for this shade actually was probably better, but ah well. Because this way they can't block. I'm fine with them using the Concealing Curtains. I think it's a 3/4 with Menace on the other side. So burn down the house is an option. Lorehold command is an option. Both of them are utility for well, can deal with the board or be a threat. Yeah, that's fine. So I presume they take the command because the burn down the house is, whilst it is a board wipe, the Lorehold is an instant and I can protect all my stuff with it, whereas burn down the house can't be a board wipe and keep my stuff. Oh yeah, it does also draw me a card, so hooray! And now they get to do some filtering. I'll probably drop Odric and get some more blood tokens. Oh, it's night. Even better. Hang on. Vigilance, Trample are two keywords that haven't entered the play yet, so I guess we'll drop that. Not give them any extra information for now. We swing with everything. We deal 2 damage to that, because now they can't block the Javelin there without killing the Revealing Eye. They decided to do it. Which is fine because the Anarchist has haste anyway. They could now Blood on the Snow, which would be devastating. No blocks. But also not that devastating since I do still have the burn down the house. Yep, there's the Blood on the Snow. And I do also have Catilda, who doesn't do too much. Ooh, Angel Fire Ignition is great. So, options. 3 haste 1/1s. I think we'll go with that. Oh, they only gain haste until end of turn. Oh, that's bad for Odric. But I think it's fine. Because they can block 1, they take 2. Next turn I can give one of them flying and lifelink and +1/+1. Or I can Angel Fire Ignition and get all of the keywords until end of turn. Presumably they transform this. But because of flashback, it's great. I can still play it. Which I think is 4 mana. So I can't do both. Henrika's able to block. Yeah, and that's got lifelink. So that is not great. But this is protection from vampires. This gives haste, doesn't it? Yeah. Alright. So, we play out the Stormkill. We Angel Fire the Stormkill. That gives us a token. We swing in with everything. I think this might just be enough. I mean, that's got lifelink, so it's not quite, actually. But it gives us a decent spot to clean up this board a bit. And then we deal 1 to the Shade. They do have to deal with the Stormkill Artist. Do they replay their Shade? Because it can't block, so it's not a problem for me at the moment. That's another lifelinker. And that one is a is not a vampire, so the Catilda doesn't work there. Okay, so I can Angel Fire Ignition. I think I sacrifice this so I can do it, so I can still activate the Haven. And just push in as much damage as I can. Or I can do this. So now, they're still alive, but this is a much bigger threat and Henrika can't block it, neither can the curtains. Rest Monster is probably dead. Or probably getting discarded, but yeah, this seems reasonable. The only downside is I am now all in on the Stormkiln Artist. Yeah, to get rid of my Rest Monster. I get an Intrepid Adversary. That's a much better card. That will probably win me the game. Yep. Because they apparently had no answers for the Stormkiln Artist, and the Intrepid Adversary would be able to pump 4. So, got 2, and then I've got 5, so yeah, that's a good 3 pumps. No, 2 pumps, because, yeah. But still, that's gives everything a buff, and the Stormkiln is then able to swing in for lethal anyway. So surprisingly, the deck actually kind of managed to actually work? Question mark? Yeah, I think it did alright, all things considered. I mean, it won the 3 games I was able to play. It had threats that were able to answer the opponent's board. It had removal to deal with them when it was early on enough. Odric didn't do much, as expected, but there were a couple of instances where those blood tokens, like, I did use them to actually get stuff that I needed. So, yeah, it wasn't a complete dud, but I don't know. It still feels weird. It still feels like it's not a great deck. I think we just got lucky as people are also experimenting at the moment in this early stage. So I'd expect further down the line when decks are more optimized and people are playing what's good again, as opposed to straight up, the new stuff. What can we do with this? It could definitely do a better job. And I do think as well, the opponents made some questionable decisions at times, so there's no telling how exactly would have gone in different situations had they done otherwise, but yeah. Didn't see Dollhouse of Horrors once, which is obviously typical when you go, I'm going to make this deck work around Dollhouse of Horrors. So that's typical. Similarly with Quintorius, although we didn't actually have many spirits on the board at any one time, which I think it does make sense. I think there's only a small number of spirits still. Yeah, there's 5 spirit creatures, and then there's only 2 enchantments. It says 3 there. I think, is it counting... What is the 3rd enchantment? Or is it counting the other side of Catilda is the question. Because we have the Cleric class, we have the Aura, which was the Spectral Steel, which didn't come up much either, but I figured it was worth a shot since we can discard it to draw a card, we can discard equipment, and then get it back with Spectral Steel as a card draw engine, essentially. But yeah, enchantment. Borrowed Time, of course, I have Borrowed Time as removal. So, yeah. So there were some things there, some things we could make use of. And yeah, I do reckon if we were using Hoffrey, we then just take out a lot of these ones that are keyword focused, that are in here because of their keywords as opposed to anything else. We have less of these discard shenanigans and build more into the spirits, the spirit side, and good value creatures that we can get double value out of. So, just the deck in action. It somehow did better. It did better than my expectations, which were incredibly low, by winning all three. So, yeah, alright. You get a pass, Odric, I guess. Whilst we're here, might as well open the pack that we got, since I've not opened many of these yet, as I've yet to do my pre-release in person and get my 6 packs from that as well. So we have a Valspawn Spider, which is great. It's going in a deck, so happy to get hold of that. The Innocent Traveller is interesting. I think at 4 mana it's slightly too expensive. 3 mana would probably be fine, because it is an upkeep trigger, and the opponent gets the choice. Especially, like, in Commander it's significantly worse, but in Brawl with 1v1 could be potentially useful. And then finally, our rare. Hey, it's a Geralf. So, I apparently already have a Geralf, which is a bit of a shame, since I doubt I'm going to build a deck around him in Standard. But, yeah, is a good one. Gives your zombies flying, which is already good, and then also lets you sacrifice non-token creatures to make zombies that are then flying. So yeah, all in all, I'm happy with how that went. So, take care, and I hope to see you next time.